Network presentation. This is the Chippenham Sports Medicine Game of the Week with your host, Mr. Dave Bird, and special guest NFL Hall of Famer, Mr. Willie Lanier. Game of the Week is being brought to you by Bruce's. You have the right to choose. Choose Bruce's Body Shop. U-Crops, where people and food come together. The Whitlock Group, AFCC and Valcom. Heckler Chevrolet and Heckler Pontiac Buick GMC, the home of the GM Giant.
And welcome back to W.T. Woodson High School. I'm Dave Bird, along with NFL Hall of Famer Willie Lanier. And Willie, it's a little unusual this week. We don't always know the teams quite so well, but we brought Annandale through the state semis at Richmond against Thomasdale last week, and we saw Pulaski County last year, and basically they bring back a lot of the same team.
They really do, and I think the only difference will be their fine running back Webb, who has a broken jaw and probably will not play today. And as you said, having seen Annandale last week down there with Thomasdale, they have a fine inside middle linebacker, Maurice Daniels. They have a good running back in Jennings. And with the win today, there probably won't be as much passing. If it is, it'll affect the game. So it should be an outstanding game here for the state championship.
Now, I talked a little bit earlier while Willie was talking to the coaches, and I was speaking with the folks at home, that the fact that the single wing tee, when run the way Pulaski does, is extremely hard to stop because every play looks a little bit like some other play, but it never ends up that way.
You're right about that, and we saw it last year in the kind of execution that they run on that play. Even though Webb probably won't play today, their players execute that very well. It's sort of an inside counter play with an action that causes defenses to make improper decisions. So I expect that to be a play that they're going to use a lot today, and we'll just have to see how quickly Annandale adjusts to it.
Well, Annandale's defenders will definitely have to stay home and guard their territory because Pulaski County is a little tough to handle. Now Annandale, you kind of alluded to the fact, and the coach did too, that this win could play heck with their passing game, which is about a third of their game.
You're right about that, and this is probably the greatest wins I've been around in all the years I've been around football, to have the kind of wind gust which feels like it could be easily 35, 40 miles an hour. So anytime you're trying to throw a longer ball, I would say anything more than 15 or 20 yards, it's going to have a big effect on that. So if you have the wind causing you to have to reduce the offensive plays where you're passing the ball, then it's going to get down to who can run, man block, keep the ball on the ground, and the team that's more successful doing that will be the one that'll probably win.
And another key thing to keep an eye on today, and that will be the ability of Annandale to keep their offense on the field, because if their defense is going against that Pulaski County offense, they're going to get ground down pretty quickly.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. We happened to have a chance to see last week a good game with Thomasdale, a big back, and Ken Oxendine, but we realized that being on the field against Pulaski County and the way that they tend to run their offense will become problematic. And you're right, the best way to win is let your offense get on the field and keep your defense where they can get some rest.
Well, everybody's got a great game plan. Willie and I do, Annandale does, Pulaski County does. We'll find out whose game plan turns out to be right. The kickoff is next. It's the Virginia AAA Division VI State Finals, Pulaski County and Annandale here in Northern Virginia.
Sports, exhilarating, rewarding, fun, and injuries. About half of the people who participate in sports activities suffer some kind of injury. At Chippenham Sports Medicine Center, we're doing something about that. Seminars on injury prevention, coaches' workshops, and football clinics are just some of the programs geared to help prevent accidents and injuries from occurring. Sports nutrition will help you understand how eating habits affect performance and potential. When a sports injury does occur, you'll find confidence in Richmond's only sports medicine physician who's on call 24 hours a day. Our full-time staff also includes certified athletic trainers, physical therapists, and a nutritionist. In most cases, physical therapy and rehabilitation programs can have you back in the peak of your game quickly. Feel better, train better, and compete better. Call us today. Chippenham Sports Medicine Center, 320-7272.
When you need professional body work to restore your car good as new, Bruce's Body Shop is the only one for you. 'Cause you can count on the service at Bruce's and the best in quality too. We're Bruce's Body Shop and we really care for you. It just makes sense to call Bruce's. Bruce's Body Shop.
And we're back to WT Woodson High School. Winning the toss were the Cougars of Pulaski County. They've already taken the field, but now they take off their helmets for the singing of our national anthem today. There's the logo of Home Team Sports, on which you're watching today's broadcast, a service of Lansing Sports Network out of Richmond, Virginia. I'm Dave Bird, along with Willie Lanier. You see the players on the field now as they're just about ready for today's game. If we get a shot of the flag, you will see it blowing from right to left, from west to east, more or less, right through this station at a very, very brisk clip. Everybody who's here says 35 to 40 miles an hour is a pretty good guess on some of the gusts of wind today, Willie. And the kicking game, passing game, anything where that ball leaves the ground is going to be very difficult. On the other hand, no precipitation. The field should be fairly good.
You're right about that, and the weather has really helped out here today because there was an expectation of some kind of precipitation. But as you said, there's no precipitation. We have a very sunny day, but this is probably the windiest condition that I've been around at a football game in my entire career. So that's going to have a great effect on either team's ability to throw the ball.
The Adams will kick off. Chris Seeger, their senior kicker, 5'10". He's kicked off 50 times so far this year, and the average he has is the 10-yard line on all his kicks, so that's where you'd expect to see it. However, he kicks into that strong wind, and that means that at the end of the game, Annandale will have the wind favoring it, which of course could be an advantage as things get down. But Willie, as we've said so many times, Pulaski County, very explosive. Don't give them an inch, because if they get a 7 or 14-point lead, they're very difficult to catch up with.
See, last year when we saw them in the state championship game, Carl Lewis returned a punt or a kickoff for a touchdown. But I think what Annandale needs to do is keep the ball low and not allow the wind to affect it. So if it would be almost a squib kick, do something like that, but don't allow the wind to determine how your initial kickoff in the state championship game goes.
Seeger ready to address the ball for Annandale. As you mentioned, Carl Lewis deep in the center of the return formation for Pulaski County. This kick will likely be kind of short because the wind is very stiff in the face of Chris Seeger. Just about ready to get underway. Thanks for joining us today. The Virginia AAA Division VI State Championship is underway, and the kick is short and taken by one of the upmen for Pulaski County. Now that's number 82 for the Cougars, John Lilly. And he will kneel down immediately and put the ball into play at about the 29-yard line for the Cougars.
And that was a good decision on Lily's part. You could see the way the wind was holding that ball up. It only went to about the 29-yard line of Pulaski County, but that gives them a good position to start their initial offensive drive.
Quarterback is Eves. He's got some great running statistics himself. Eves gives the first handoff to Lewis. Ball's on the turf. Annandale thinks they've got it. We look for official confirmation from the bottom of the pile, and we'll see what happens. Usually when there's no indication, that's not good for the defense, and it will go as the first down run for Lewis.
On that run, it appeared that the middle linebacker, Daniels, was able to get through the line of scrimmage and make a nice hit on Lewis. He fumbled the ball, but as was noted, it was recovered by Pulaski County.
Lewis once again in the backfield, along with Red. They're missing Eric Webb, their wingback. Lewis again on the second run. Annandale expecting that. One of the things that they could run into as a problem for Annandale, although not yet, of course, is over pursuit, over anxiety, and that can get you in trouble on defense.
Oh, it really can, but on that last play, number 65, Stephen Dredge made that stop for Annandale, and they are really penetrating this line of scrimmage of Pulaski County. Pulaski County has shown the ability to execute probably as well as any high school team that I've seen, and on those first two plays, Annandale has really stopped them in their tracks.
Pulaski County has a third down and long now. Lewis again, he's working right. He's got a great average from the line of scrimmage. He did fumble this time. And it looks like Annandale has recovered as ball handling. This has been very uncharacteristic for Pulaski County. They've usually been an excellent executing team.
You're right about that, but it appeared possible on that play as Lewis appeared to start to explode through some of the tackles. An arm came out, knocked the ball loose, which is a great advantage for Annandale. But it makes you wonder the effect of the cold conditions, the windy conditions, and what effect that might have on any receiver or running back holding on to the ball.
They'll take over on the 35-yard line after the fumble recovery, so Annandale gets the first break of the game. Let's see how their slightly more explosive offense fares in these tough weather conditions. Here come the Annandale Adams, blown off before the start of the play. Willie, I thought that there was some movement in the backfield, perhaps leaning a little toward the line of scrimmage. McPhail on the keeper was unable to do anything.
No, that was on the defensive side. What occurred was that one of the defensive linemen for Pulaski County jumped offside, and therefore Annandale will pick up another 5 yards for a 1st and 5.
Let's look at the replay of the fumble, Willie, and see if we can pick up as best we can the way that play went and how the fumble came out. We'll look at it after this play. No, we'll look at it right now.
Well, it was just a handoff to Lewis going to his right. He makes a sweep and he cuts up field, and it appears that one of the defenders for Annandale
looked like Crittenden had the pickup on the fumble.
But they made a great recovery, and Annandale starts his drive at the 30-yard line.
All right, here comes Annandale again, picking up 5 yards on the defensive penalty. Jennings coming out of the backfield, really working those legs right up the middle of the field. Eric Jennings, the 170-pound senior, averages almost 7 yards every carry. Got a 1st down right off the bat.
He did, and we saw Eric last week in their game down in Richmond, and he didn't gain as much yardage as his average normally portends, but you could see on that play, basically a straight-ahead play, and Jennings just was able to take a leg away sort of from the defenders and to pick up a 1st down for Annandale.
Annandale will probably have to play a pretty perfect game today. Already a mistake's been made by Pulaski County. They don't likely make too many more. It's an I formation in the backfield. Santa Ana and Jennings is the tailback. McPhail, the quarterback, gives it to the up man. Santa Ana runs. Looks like he's got himself 5 or 6 yards. If those two can alternate well. Last week, Annandale played Thomasdale. They only had 1 good running back. Having 2, I think, would be a big advantage against that defensive line.
It really will, because as we were talking earlier, the defensive line for Pulaski County averages, I think you said, maybe 20 to 25 pounds, 30 pounds more than the offensive line of Annandale. But the thing that happens, as long as you can execute well, get good position, then you can still gain yardage, as Annandale has shown they've been able to do so far.
The Adams continue to roll now. 2nd down and 4, 6 yards to gain for Santa Ana on the 1st down. McPhail this time to the tailback. Jennings cracks through the hole. Looks like he's got another 1st down inside the 10-yard line, down to about the 7. Willie, it'll be 1st and goal.
And Annandale is continuing to run their inside running game extremely well. All they're doing is matching up offensive linemen with defensive linemen, trying to just find the creases, and they are continuing to do that very well.
And they definitely take into account the big defensive line there. Randy Dunnigan, who is a 1st-team all-region player. They seem to be running away from him a lot. I wouldn't blame him a bit. If I saw him coming to me, I'd run away from him too. John McPhail's the quarterback, barks the signals for the red-clad Adams, who is moving in the backfield as Jennings takes the handoff, but flags all over the field on that play.
Yeah, it appeared to be the left deep offensive end for Annandale jumped offside on that play, and that's not something obviously you want to have happen, especially down this close, try and take advantage of his fumble recovery, but we'll wait for the officials to make the call.
Well, we talk about the heritage of these teams coming into today's game. We've got the reigning champion. Here you see the indication from referee Tony Scarcelli. The reigning Virginia champion in AAA is Pulaski County. They're on a 21-game winning streak and rated number 10 in the USA Today national poll. But Annandale's got quite a history itself. They won the state championship twice in the 60s and twice in the 70s. And we went by their breakfast this morning. They had the trophies on their breakfast table so everybody could look at them and get psyched up by them.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to try to bring the history of what your program has been to those who are currently playing. Try to let them know that they have something to measure up to, and maybe that can make a big difference in their quest for their own championship.
1st and goal from the 12. Once again, Jennings on the run, got about a yard, maybe a yard and a half before he's stuffed by the left side of the Pulaski defense. That'll bring up 2nd down and goal to go. Long yardage for the Adams.
That was Jeff Berkeley from Pulaski County who was able to get through and make that stop. And I was just thinking that possibly, since the Adams have not thrown the ball at this point in the game, play action down close. They've been running the game all along. They could have an advantage, maybe going to a tight end on a crossing pattern. So we'll just have to take a look at what they decide to do on this next play.
2nd and goal from the 11 might be a great time to pass. Wind in the face of the quarterback McPhail, a 52% passer coming into today's game. Takes the snap, gives it to the up man. Santa Ana cracks into the line. Didn't get much, maybe 2 or 3 yards. It's going to bring up 3rd and goal. Long yardage from about the 7-yard line, the way they stack, maybe 8 actually.
And I think the thing that you can see now is that this defensive line of Pulaski County, which has a weight advantage, has been able to make some adjustments to that inside running game that Annandale has run. So obviously Annandale now have to start making some adjustments to offset that which was working for them but has been shut down the last few plays.
Wide receivers left are Seeger and Clark. Crittenden goes right. Pro set formation in the backfield for the Adams in their red uniforms. Decide to take it the secure way, and that's in the hands of Giovanni Santa Anna as he breaks off left guard, but that's going to be short of the first down. Well, they couldn't get a first down, short of the touchdown. Now it's fourth down.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Annandale does at this point. Well, they've thrown the tee out on the field. They're going to go for a field goal to try to get some points in this game, which should be a challenge as the day progresses.
Well, by no means a gimme. Seeger just barely made the one in overtime last week to defeat Thomas Dale in Richmond. He shanked it, but it just made it through the goalpost. This one will be a 21-yard kick. It's down, it's up, it's blocked, and it doesn't make the goalpost. It'll be a touchback for Pulaski County. They'll bring it out to the 20, and Willie, that's not what Annandale wanted to see on their first drive.
Certainly not, especially not being able to capitalize on that fumble by Pulaski County, but the defense of Pulaski County was able to hold. Annandale decided not to put the ball in the air on any of those plays when they were down close, maybe to try to get the ball into the end zone, but Pulaski County has to be very happy for being able to not allow any points after that turnover so deep in their territory.
Indeed, you could hear the sigh of relief among the thousands of Pulaski County Cougar fans who have come today. They come out in that wing T formation. It's very difficult with the misdirection to pick up who's got the ball, but Annandale figured it out. It was Carl Lewis again, and Willie, if I'm not mistaken, I think Lewis has touched the ball on just about every play.
No, really on that last play, quarterback faked the ball to Lewis, but tried to have an option off of it and just wasn't able to pick up anything. Mike Hurlins, number 78 for Annandale, made the stop for really no gain and a loss on that play.
Eves on the keeper on that play, but it was the misdirection using Lewis, and that's what we said at the top of the show. Pulaski County is very good at disguising what they're doing with the ball. You have to watch very carefully to see who's got the ball. This time the handoff is up the middle. Pulaski County, of course, operating without their number one running back. Well, the number one in the playoffs anyway. Brian Red carried on that play. They'd certainly like to have Eric Webb, number 4, in the game, but he's out with a broken jaw, unlikely to be in today's game.
And would have been a great talent for the fans in this area to have seen Eric Webb. We saw him last year in the championship game, scored 3 touchdowns, block a couple of punts, and just an outstanding all-around play. Unfortunately, has a broken jaw from last week and probably will not play.
Here come the Cougars again. Another inside handoff. This time it goes to Timmy Kimbrough. Kimbrough stuffed after a gain of just a couple of yards. It'll bring up third down in long yardage. It's the Annandale defense, or actually fourth down rather. Annandale's defense has surprised us.
And Maurice Daniels made as good a defensive play from middle linebacker position that you would ever see on a counter play. That's the kind of execution that Pulaski is used to being able to run. Daniels read the play in the backfield, made the stop, forced the fourth down punting situation for Pulaski County.
Deep is Prince Addy. Now he took one back for a touchdown last week. He'll get a chance to handle this. No, Crittenden does. Picks it up on the 33 to the 35 to the 40 to the 45. He's across midfield to 45, 40, 35. Down inside the 30-yard line. Willie, it looked as if the field was divided in half. There were 3 or 4 players up on the coverage. Then there was a span of about 25 yards with no Pulaski County players at all.
You're right about that. That was a great play on Crittenden's part. It appeared that once that ball hit the ground, it was getting ready to really bounce past him very quickly. He was able to catch it, got by that first wave of Pulaski County players, about 5 or 6, and appeared that had he cut back to his right, he might have picked up more yards and maybe gone in for a score. But again, Annandale finds themselves deep in Pulaski County territory, and they need to capitalize on these 2 early opportunities.
Make it a 42-yard return for Crittenden, and it puts Annandale back in business. They have been winning that field position battle at least early in this game. We've got 4 minutes and 5 seconds left to play. First quarter action. It's the state championship for all the marbles. They won't be playing next week, but only one of these teams will have the trophy in their case. Santa Ana again cracks up the middle. He's down to about the 22-yard line. Call it a gain of 6.
It appears that Annandale has decided from that running attack to really keep it off tackle, guard center kind of holes, and that's the type of approach that they've taken, and they've been able to gain good yardage, but they need to find a way to get into the end zone.
Let's take another look at that punt, Willie. We would expect Prince Addy, the guy who scored the touchdown last week against Thomas Dale, to be taking the ball, but it was Crittenden who took it.
But the way the ball hit and bounced out here in this kind of weather, you saw Crittenden made a great catch on the ball because it had a chance to get away from him. Very poor tackling on Pulaski County's part, and he was able to pick up a lot of yardage for the Adams.
Second down and 4. Santa Ana again looks like he's got the first down. And Willie, one thing to keep in mind is Annandale, working against the wind, may really want to keep their passing attack in check until the second quarter.
Well, that's a very good point, because as we had said earlier in the broadcast, these winds are extremely difficult, and it will be hard to really know what would happen once you put the ball up. But I think that if they find their running attack stalling, that you have to take that opportunity to test your passing attack to really see what might happen as far as this wind is concerned.
Little over 3 minutes to play in the first quarter. Annandale, whatever they've tried, whatever they've tested, has so far worked pretty well. They had a field goal block just a few moments ago, but took the ball back on downs. Jennings can't turn the corner. Looks like he lost a yard. Great job of pursuit by the right side of the Pulaski County Cougar defense, and that'll bring up second down and more than 10.
That was Jeff Berkeley, the defensive right end for Pulaski County, who made that play. Jennings had an opportunity to cut inside on that play, and he really didn't follow his blocker. So the blocker had Berkeley on his outside, and really Jennings just allowed the block to drive Berkeley toward him. So the running back really didn't gain as much as he could have on that last play.
Second down, officially call it, 12 yards to go. Adams, slot formation right with Seeger in the slot. Inside, Santa Ana down near the 10. Remind all our folks who are watching this broadcast, our usual Virginia AAA broadcast for the first time, that Bruce's Body Shop, a well-respected body shop out of Richmond, Virginia, sponsors our Player of the Week program, and they award a jacket to the player who most distinguishes himself in our football game. And a little bit later on in the game, Willie Lanier and I will put our heads together and try to determine who that was, and it's always fun to do. Third down and 8 yards to go for the Adams now. Slot formation right. Clark and Seeger, Crittenden left. McPhail rolling, keeping. Now looking to pass. Too bad he couldn't turn the corner because, well, I don't know if he'd gotten the first down, but he looked like he had at least 5 or 8 yards of open field before he hit the turf.
Well, one thing for McPhail on that play, he started to roll out to the right, but Brian Clark had come wide open in the end zone. He just wasn't able to spot him. Obviously, it was noted, lost his footing, went down, now forcing another fourth down situation, and no doubt probably another field goal attempt. But we'll wait for the coach to make his call.
Looks like they might go for it as McPhail stares at his coaching staff, led, of course, by Annandale graduate Dick Adams.
Well, they're going to have to hurry up with this play because they took a lot more time than necessary to get the call from the sideline.
McPhail quickly brings him to the line of scrimmage. Twin receivers in single coverage to the left. Fake to Santa Ana, rolling, looking left, can't find a receiver open, and McPhail is unable to make it even back to the line of scrimmage. It was great coverage, but single man-to-man coverage down that left sideline.
And the defense of Pulaski County, again, has to realize the kind of outstanding job they've done. They've been able to take a team that has been able to drive down the field on them twice, get deep in their territory, and allow them not to come away with any points. Block the field goal attempt the previous time, and now stop the fourth down play. And this game has been played at their end of the field with only about 38 seconds left in the first quarter.
This may well be the last play of that first quarter as the Cougars take back over. Remember, they almost never pass. Of course, you say that, and then things change. Looked like Red on the first down carry. Brian Red gets up off the bottom of the pile there. They'll credit him with about a 3-yard gain. Pulaski County uncharacteristically not racking up the yards like we would expect.
Well, I think anytime you take away an Eric Webb out in the offense, who was a very integral part of their offense, very, very talented performer, that's going to have some effect. But they have not equipped themselves well so far this afternoon here at Annandale, and now we're just coming down to the end of the first quarter.
And that is the end of the first quarter, as they probably did not get that play off. They snapped the ball right at what would have been the end of the quarter, but I think they've waved it off. Now they swap ends, and we take a 2-minute timeout. We'll be right back with more of the AAA State Finals Division 6. It's Virginia football at its best on Home Team Sports. And we're back to W.T. Woodson High School. Fairfax, Virginia, scene of the Virginia State final game. On second down, the carry was by Lewis for a short gain. Third down and 8 now for Pulaski County. A little bit of a mishandling there in the backfield. The ball ends up in the hands of Brian Redd. And Annandale has once again stopped Pulaski County as they have on their 3 previous possessions.
You're right about that, and the thing we always see is very good execution from Pulaski County. We haven't seen it yet, and there's a player for Annandale on the field, and the medical staff is going out to attend to him at this time.
Annandale comes into today's game with a 12-1 record. That one loss came to earlier in the season, second game of the season. Lake Braddock, the final score 6-2. Now, you know when you hear a 6-2 score, that had to be an ugly, ugly game.
Well, that's only if you don't like defense, but for a former defensive player, that had to be a great game to be able to play it that closely. For Lake Braddock to have played, this team was playing for a state championship and winning 6-2. That had to be an outstanding game.
Well, you got to figure that there were some definite offensive mistakes made if that game was only 6-2. All the defense, you know, they scored a safety. That was just about it. Anyway, that happened second game of the season. The Adams at that point only 1-1 on the year. They didn't know that they'd end up in this game at that point, but I think that was a great game to turn this team around as they really took off on a tear. They beat their next 3 teams by a combined score of about 160-7. I mean, you look at the scores, they were 37-0, 68-0, and 67-7. They followed that up with a 33-0 and 40-6 game. They just caught fire there in the middle of the season.
Well, you find yourself losing a game that close, you want to take out your frustration on whoever's next. So that whoever's next really could see a big difference in what that deficit was in scoring.
Steve Dredge gets up off the field, and he looks like he's okay. By the way, fans, if you'd like a copy of today's game professionally duplicated for you, stand by in a moment. Well, there it is now. There's the address to send to. If you don't get a chance to copy it down now, we'll come back to it in just a second for you. 11 minutes and 8 seconds, second quarter action. Pulaski County with a third down and 19 yards to go. Rather make it fourth. It says third down, but I think it's fourth down. They'll punt. It's a short punt. And it bounces back in Annandale's favor. And Willie, with that punt, this has been at least the third successive time on the changeover that Annandale has had superior field position.
Oh, it really is. And the thing that is happening is that this Annandale defense is playing very, very solid football. And Pulaski County, I think, is starting to really show the effect that Eric Webb not being here has had on this ball club. So, again, Pulaski County has not been able to do anything on any type of sustained drive, but Annandale needs to get some points from this great field position they continue to get as this game progresses.
I formation for the Adams of Annandale. Glenn in there blocking for Jennings, who takes the handoff for about 5-6 yards. Looked like there may have been at the end of the play, I was thinking a ball possession problem, but it looks like Annandale got it back and maybe gained another couple of yards. Let's call it second down and a long 4 yards. This is second quarter action, still no score in the game.
And the thing we're continuing to see are turnovers and fumbles, and I have to believe that this wind chill is having an effect on the players in terms of keeping a very firm grip on the ball.
Just a little more than 10 minutes to go, second quarter action. These two teams come in with some pretty high-scoring offenses, as you saw at the top of the show. Pulaski County and Annandale both averaging more than 35 points a game. But defense is what wins state championships. Just ask any coach who's ever won one. And today, both defenses have played fairly well. That play goes to the first man through, who on this play, coming up off the bottom of the pile, was Jasmine Glenn. Glenn comes in with an average of 7.5 yards a carry, but back to my statement about defense, you usually don't get your average in a playoff game.
You're right about that, and as soon as you were saying the aspect of defense, as Glenn hit the line of scrimmage, you saw him stop with no forward motion. That's the kind of solid defensive line play that Pulaski County has been able to have so far. Then really both teams are continuing. This is a defensive struggle, and it'll be interesting to see who finally breaks through, and once they break through, well, they can continue to try to expand some kind of potential score.
McPhail back to pass, got the wind at his back now. Had a receiver Jennings out on the flat, but overthrew him. Of course, that's the downside of having the wind at your back, is that you have to take a little off the pass, float it in a little bit so it doesn't go over the receiver's head.
You're right. Jennings had a chance to catch that ball and barely missed it, but it appeared that Billy Ingles, the cornerback for Pulaski County, had taken an angle toward the play that had that ball been caught, that would have been a tremendous amount of yardage picked up additionally by Jennings.
Arendt will be back to punt now. and he'll have the wind at his back. I expect to see this one drop very close to the goal line, and so did the Pulaski receivers. Red is one of those receivers, Davis the other one. Arndt runs up into it, and instead of getting a good kick, it was kind of a tough to handle kick, and it bounces out inside the 20-yard line. That was kind of an odd play, Willie. He took that ball on the run. Do you think that he had an option there?
Well, it looks like that might have been the case, that he came toward the ball as soon as it was snapped, and if something was there, he might have run. If not, just try to pull up and kick it. So he was able to get it off. Obviously, they didn't really gain any yardage to speak of on that punt, but it could have been a potential run on that play.
Almost no yardage at all, as you point out, Willie. Maybe 5 yards on that punt officially. Actually went out of bounds at the 29. It looked like it went inside the 20, but it was angled out so badly. Might as well have just gone ahead and run it. Inside handoff, Lewis trips across the line of scrimmage. He'll gain about 3 yards, and Willie, nothing fancy from Pulaski County. Not that we expected too much. We haven't even seen one of their famous inside reverses.
Well, that wasn't quite the reverse, but that was that kind of inside counter play they like to run. Again, Maurice Daniels standing inside made the stop. But I think that's one of the differences, that you have an outstanding middle linebacker who's very experienced in terms of not getting faked out. Well, then that play becomes a little bit more difficult to accomplish.
John Lilly filling in for Eric Webb at that wingback position. Here's Red on the run. He's out near the first down. He should be within inches. Let's see where they mark it. And also a special note should go to Billy Ingles, who's been filling in for star Eric Webb on defense. This morning, Coach Joel Hicks said it will take at least 3 different guys to substitute for a caliber player as Eric Webb.
And the officials have called timeout so they can measure on this play. And for the fans out there, they probably continue to hear in the background an air horn. And that's an air horn that Pulaski County fans take with them as they go around the state trying to inspire their team on to victory.
Yeah, I remember saying last year it sounded like something from the wreck of the old 57 or something like that, but it's an actual real freight train air horn that they bring a compressor for, and all I can say is this year at least it's on the other side of the field so we can hear ourselves think.
Yeah, it can really be a shock if you're standing close to it when it is blown.
But the substitute for the air horn last year will be this year's weather, which is very brisk. Wind chill factors have got to be just a little above 0 today. By the time you watch this game, you will have read in the paper how bad it was. But let me tell you, being here without a meteorologist, we're just kind of making it up. But it's a tough day out here. Glad you joined us for the broadcast today. 8:06 left to play in the second quarter. It was a short yardage situation, 3rd down in inches, and I think that Pulaski County gains the first down with plenty to spare.
Yeah, as you say, it was very short yardage on that, only a few inches, and they were able to pick that up. But again, the Annandale defense continues to play very inspired football, and they aren't giving up anything without Pulaski having to really work a lot harder to get it.
When you see a score 0-0 at this point in the game, you start to think in the back of your mind, it's going to be a break, it's going to be a special team, something like that might decide this game.
Well, we saw that last weekend, the game between Annandale and Thomasdale, and it was a punt return that did it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens today.
On the 1st down and 10 run for Pulaski County, they decide to give it a straight ahead play to Red from the fullback position. He's good for 3 yards. Neither team has really tried anything too fancy. Even when Annandale was passing, they played it kind of conservative in that McPhail held the ball instead of trying to throw an interception.
Yeah, you're right about that, and I think that obviously is caused by the weather with McPhail's decision down close to Pulaski's goal line.
Eves is the quarterback. He barks the signals in that single wing formation. Here comes one of those reverses maybe. Ball ends up in the hands of number 3 for Pulaski County, Billy Ingles, one of the guys we said who was filling in for Eric Webb, their star running back, who, by the way, gained 100 yards in each of the last 2 playoff games. So he steps up at playoff time. I asked the coach about that. I said, you know, his season stats aren't that big. And he said, yeah, but the last couple of weeks he's really hit hard.
And I think it's the thing you really see about very, very good players, or great players. They really, their level of performance increases on the money game, so to speak, and that would be something that probably would be expected based on how good a player he is.
3rd down and 6, pitch to Lewis. He's shut down by the Adams defense. They were just exhorting their crowd to give him a bit of a cheer, and I think it happened just at the right moment, as it's going to bring up a 4th down and at least 5 yards for Pulaski County, and once again they're going to have to punt.
And as you said, once again we'll try to continue to look for that one big play that might start to be a break if this game continues a 0-0 game in the state championship here this afternoon.
Ingalls back in punt formation for Pulaski County. He has a 36.5-yard average coming into today's game. That's 6 yards better than Art, the kicker for Annandale, so there is a bit of an advantage there, but not today, as not only does he shank it, but the wind just brutalized the ball, took it all the way over into the stands. You don't see that, and especially these stands are not close here at Woodson High School.
And that looks as if though that might have been a 10-yard punt from where the official is marking it, but you could see once the ball was not kicked well, the winds just stopped it almost completely, and that's the kind of effect this wind is going to have on the game as it continues this afternoon.
Well, they certainly took the star kick returner Prince Addy out of the play, but I don't think it was much of a gain for Pulaski.
But I think on the other hand, with Annandale now having the wind behind them, if they want to try something long, if they get a little bit more into the territory of Pulaski, they would have a lot of air under the ball.
McPhail, play action, rolling, has a receiver, Seeger right in his hands. You can rack this one up. 10-5, touchdown. As they say in the song, whoop, there it is. 55 yards, McPhail to Seeger, and Annandale's on the board just like that.
And that was a great time to use that play because you get the ball again close to midfield. You've had an opportunity to score. You haven't gotten your points on the board. You decide McPhail rolls out to his left, gets good position, gets it out to Seeger, who makes a fine catch as he made even last week, and he takes it in unmolested for the first points of this game here this evening, or afternoon rather.
It'll be time to kick for Chris Seeger. Probably panting down there. You know, it doesn't even sound fair. Guy's got to run 55 yards, then he has to come back and kick, but I think he can probably handle it. He likes the problem. Puts this one, looks like, right down the middle. And indeed, it's 7-0 in favor of Annandale. And Willie, well, I was wrong. It was certainly a lightning strike play. Let's take another look at this great pass. The play action, really the key to this play.
Yeah, it is. It's a play action to Jennings by McPhail. McPhail rolls out to his left, gets good position, and is able to get the ball over the defender to Seeger. Seeger makes a fine catch, a diving attempt to knock it down by the defender from Pulaski County, but not enough, and number 11 Seeger takes it in for the first points of this state championship game.
7-0. Seeger scores all 7 points as he puts up the extra point. And just as simple as that, with 5:49 left to play in the first half, the Adams of Annandale, the representatives of Northern Virginia and the champions of the Northern region, have gone on top in this football game, and a low-scoring game will probably favor Annandale. Keeping Pulaski's defense on the field was one of the goals they had at the beginning of this game, and so far so good. They've done a great job doing that.
You're right about that, because the offense has not helped the Pulaski County Cougars at all so far here this afternoon, and they've continued to find themselves under pressure from this Annandale team.
Well, the wind certainly has become a factor even on the kickoffs. As Seeger was approaching the ball, it wouldn't even stay on the tee for him. So he'll get a little help in steadying the ball. Right-footed, soccer-style kicker with the wind at his back, and well, having just made that big run and got the adrenaline going, he should get a good kickoff here. This one will come down. And here comes the return by Pulaski County, and another big hit, this time against Jamar McNair, number 17 for Pulaski County, and once again they showed the deficit in field position on the kickoff.
Yeah, you can really see that they were only able to get that kickoff return out to their own 24-yard line, and again, that's very good field position for Annandale, and their defense is, I think, continuing to improve their level of play, and Pulaski County really needs to find their offense that they will be able to show this afternoon.
Just about 5.5 minutes left in first half action. This is the best of the best. The two teams in Virginia that represent, well, they have about 110 AAA schools in Virginia. They divide them in half, and they have Division 5 and Division 6, 6 being the biggest. So 50-some-odd schools have competed for the right to be here on this field today, and only 2 are left, and only one of them will go home the state champions. Will it be Pulaski repeating from last year in Virginia, or will it be Annandale with their long tradition, racking up their 5th state championship in the last 20 years or so? I'll make it 30 years or so. It went back into the 60s. Here comes Pulaski County. They'll have something to say about it before it's all over. Eves on the keeper along the line of scrimmage. Gang tackled by 4 or 5 members of the Annandale Adams defense, a couple of defensive backs there, which means great reaction from them. They didn't think passing. They don't think Pulaski's going to pass, so they need to get to the point of attack quickly.
And it's not only great reaction, but I think it really shows that the defense of Annandale has studied this team very well, because Pulaski County hasn't really been able to fool them with anything. They get great position even after fakes. They're making the stops. They aren't allowing hardly any yardage to be picked up on the running plays. And it appears that Pulaski County would do better trying to still run inside an attack than some of the things they've attempted to do on the outside.
The Cougars of Pulaski County in white with the gold trim and red numerals. Eves again on the, rather he's doing the blocking, and like he had a little trouble hanging on the ball out there. Eves on the keeper. I finally got it straight there. Second there, I thought he'd given the ball off to Ingalls, but Ingalls was doing the blocking.
Yeah, in the way you run that option with Ingalls inside, he had a very good fake. Eves had a very good fake to Ingalls, but he kept the ball himself. Only picked up about 3 yards on that play, now forcing a 3rd and 7 for Pulaski County.
If you're just tuning in, this game was taped several days ago, this past weekend. You're seeing it here now on Home Team Sports. It's a very cold day in Fairfax, Virginia. Annandale in red, the Northern Regional champions, versus the Northwestern Regional champions. That's Pulaski County. They attempt to run, and this time it really doesn't work as Burks on the carry. His first of the game gets stacked up at the line of scrimmage, and it'll bring up 3rd down and long.
That was Burks on the carry, and Steve Dredge on the tackle, really underneath Burks, picked up no yardage, 4th down again for Pulaski County.
And it is 4th down, meaning punt formation again, at least the 4th punt so far for Pulaski County, or 4th turnover. Maybe Addy will have a chance to show us his running speed as he stands back on his 40-yard line. Ingalls' kick is low. He's having a heck of a time today. Taken by an up man for Annandale. And you know, I think there was definitely some interference on that play, Willie, as the Annandale man, who was number 20, that's Todd Millen, was knocked into the ball. And I don't think that you can do that. Let's see if the officials are going to talk about it out there. If we get a chance to see it on the replay, Annandale was going to let that ball go, but they were pushed into it by Pulaski County.
But the thing that has to happen on a day like this with that ball being kicked into the wind, Annandale has to realize that it's not going to be that long a kick. So you really just need to have gotten away from it, let the ball fall, and then go back on offense. Now, again, Pulaski County has an opportunity at the 50-yard line.
This will be a key time for Pulaski County because there's only 3 minutes left to play in the first half, and if they want to score, now would be the time. Willie, let's take a close look there. I think Millen was pushed into the ball.
Well, you're going to see some pushing. The ball is kicked very low. As the ball comes down, Annandale can't get away from it, and there'll be another player, or really it was attempted to be caught, and with that the ball popped loose, and then the recovery was made by Pulaski County.
Well, in Crittenton's defense, I think he only jumped on the ball because he thought it had been touched by his teammate Millen. Here's the reverse. This time it ends up in the hands of Ingalls. That's the play that got Pulaski County to the state championship last year.
And it was executed by Webb for 3 touchdowns last year, but with Webb not quite being here, it hasn't worked as well against Annandale.
There was a flag on the play. Let's get the preliminary indication. Illegal procedure against the offense, according to Tony Scarcelli, our referee today. Rest of the officials, the umpire is Jim Orr. Lee McDaniel is our linesman. Line judge, Larry Jokum. Back judge is Jeff Horton. Field judge, Darrell Parson. And working the clock up here with us today, it's Eddie Spain. These officials, by the way, will come from the Norfolk area, the southeastern region of the state, in order to be impartial. Allegedly impartial. You never know. No, I think they are. They always do a fine job. We see plenty of them. This time Eves hangs on, dribbles the ball, ends up losing a lot of yardage. This could end up being an Annandale touchdown. Oh, it's knocked out of the hands of the defender. Is that Addy running along the sideline there? No, it looks like for Annandale, it was number 81, Ernest Amanqua. Amanqua picked up the ball and was off to the races, and just at the last minute was knocked out of bounds at about the 12-yard line. Annandale, another break for them.
You're right about that, and that play for Eves from Pulaski County has not worked well at all this afternoon, and unfortunately on that play, not only did it not work, but he fumbled, and as you said, Amanqua was able to pick it up and bring it back all the way to the Pulaski County 11-yard line, giving Annandale a great opportunity with 2 minutes, 10 seconds left in this first half.
Yeah, it's darn near perfect timing for them. In fact, they've called timeout as you see Dick Adams, the coach, runs out on the field to talk to his Adams. Interesting. It's Adams coaching the Atoms, and he's going to take advantage of this last 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, earlier I mentioned that you could own your own copy of today's game. It's as simple as this. For only $15, you'll have a professionally duplicated VHS tape, start to finish, of this broadcast. It's available from the Game of the Week, 1403 Huguenot, Huguenot Road in Midlothian, Virginia, a Richmond suburb. Zip code is 23113. Make sure you write on the check that you send, and you must send a check, what game you want, and this would be the Annandale-Pulaski State Championship game. And it's been a good one so far, especially if you're an Annandale fan, as they hold a 7-0 lead and have the ball on the 12-yard line with 2:10 left to play in the first half.
And this is a great opportunity for Annandale to score another touchdown and take a 14-0 lead in at the half, which would really put Pulaski County in a much deeper hole. But Annandale has continued to play well. They didn't capitalize early in this game on a couple of turnovers and fine drives by themselves, and now an opportunity exists for them to try to seize a little bit greater control of this ball game.
Santa Ana behind McPhail. Jennings is the tailback. Goes to Jennings. He's got some running room. He's down to about the, well, great second effort. Almost pronounced him down at the 6. He gets 3 more. He's to the 3 on second down now, and 3 yards to go.
That was just a straight ahead inside running play to Jennings. He just showed a lot of good leg drive and being able to get past that first wave of defenders from Pulaski County. As you said, took it down to what appears to be the 3-yard line, and now they have second and goal from that point.
Actually, Willie, they can get the first down without getting the touchdown, as the yard marker shows maybe about the 2-yard line would do it for a first down. So this is almost a free play for Annandale's. They need 1 for the first down, 3 for the touchdown. Twin backs in the backfield. Give goes to Jennings. He's in. It's another touchdown for Annandale, and the fans go wild at Woodson High School as the Adams have jumped out to a 13-0 lead just before halftime.
They capitalized so quickly on that opportunity of the fumble by Eves from Pulaski County. 2 plays in position, 11 yards. You're in the end zone. You take a 13-0 lead with 1:22 left in the first half.
Well, Annandale has not played a perfect game, but they've certainly played a technically much better game than Pulaski County up here to halftime.
They really have, and it was pretty interesting early on, wondering whether they were going to be able to capitalize on some of these miscues by Pulaski County.
Seeger, right down the pipe, 14-0 with the point after touchdown. Now the Adams of Annandale, the Northern Region champions, hold a 14-0 lead at halftime. This is exactly the situation that Pulaski County would rather not be in. As a come-from-behind team, they're more of a ball control team, and that's a little more difficult. They don't really have a passing attack. Willie, let's look at that 3-yard run again.
And here again is that last play for the touchdown. The ball will go to Jennings on the play. And as McPhail hands off to Jennings, they just had great blocking at the point of attack. One of the defensive linemen for Pulaski County had a chance, but had no ability to stop Jennings getting in for that second touchdown of the afternoon for Annandale.
By the time Newcomb got his arms on Jennings, it was pretty much all over but the cry, and it's now 14-0 in favor of Annandale. They'll kick off now and move right to left with the win. And as we talked about, Willie, it turned out to be a key, a scoreless first quarter. Then the second quarter, Annandale has the advantage of the win, and it seemed to really help them.
You're right about that, and with them being able to score to Seeger, the advantage was that they could throw the ball because they had the wind behind them in the second quarter.
And they kind of wave off this attempt at the kick. It looked like maybe the ball was having a little problem there, staying straight on the tee. Interesting formation they run, Willie. It almost looks as if Prince Addy, if he wants to, can take a whack at that ball on the way by. It's a little confusing maybe for the defense.
Well, that would be something that could work well if you were trying to kick an onside kick, trying to cause your defenders to not know which side of the field you were going to kick it to, but that's not something Annandale needs at this point.
Well, Seeger, I'm sure, has got his chest puffed up, thinking that he's a massive kicker today, but 30-mile-an-hour wind, it turns that one into a touchback. It's one of those, it's a great day when the wind's at your back, but it's not when it isn't.
Yeah, you're right about that, and we've really seen that in some of the punts by Pulaski County that has really created a great problem for them here this afternoon.
Yeah, Billy Ingles probably can't wait until the next quarter when the wind gets at his back. Of course, he's hoping he doesn't have to punt. Ingles has also been substituting for Eric Webb, their all-everything running back. Twin backfield, single wing formation. Lewis on the carry. Lewis is rumbling. Crittenden makes the tackle, but only after a 20-yard gain by Lewis, and that's a little bit more like his average coming in. Now, Willie, consider this. There are running backs that have 9-yard per rush averages, but not too many that have run 130 times in the year. He's got almost 1,200 yards and still maintains a 9-yard average.
That's really incredible, and that was the best run so far for Pulaski County today. It takes them up to their own 40-yard line, and the pressure is on not only Pulaski to try to get points, but Annandale doesn't want to give away an advantage that they've gained. Worked very hard for so far in the second quarter.
Seems like they found something that they're trying with Lewis that's working a little bit better as he's run left and run right, both for long gains. This one will bring up a second down and short yardage as timeout has been called on the field. And this timeout will be assessed to Pulaski County. And if my math is correct, that both teams still have 2 timeouts left.
Well, I guess one advantage for Annandale is that with Pulaski County having to throw against the wind, they primarily would probably have to keep the ball on the ground. So that is one of those factors that Annandale doesn't have to worry about as much, and that's the passing aspect at this point in the game.
This is the Virginia AAA Division VI State Championship game for all the marbles. In white with gold and red is the defending state champion, Pulaski County. They're down 14-0 just before halftime to the team in red. Those are the Adams, the Annandale Adams of Northern Virginia. And they're playing pretty much on Annandale's home turf here at W.T. Woodson High School in Fairfax, Virginia, the designated site here. They've got great stand capacity here for visitors, and when Pulaski comes, you better have it.
You're right about that, because we saw the number of fans that came from Pulaski County to the state championship last year, and as many or more here this year also to cheer their team on, hopefully to some victory.
Second down and 2. Lewis takes it for the first down to the 48-yard line of Annandale, but time's a wasting. 44 seconds left to play in the first half. They stop the clock momentarily for the moving of the chains, but once that's complete, Pulaski County will be watching the last 40 seconds tick off this clock. And it might be one of those times where Eves, who doesn't pass much, may have to pass on this play.
Well, you're getting to the point where they really don't have a choice except to try to put the ball in the air to give themselves an opportunity.
Lewis stopped by a great defensive play there by the Annandale Adams, and that was number 65, Steve Dredge, who we saw go out injured earlier. He's back. It's the championship game. He doesn't want to miss it.
And Dredge has had an outstanding game so far. He and Maurice Adams have continued to make many tackles across this field against this Pulaski County team. There's 10 seconds left in this first half, ticking down 8-7, and Pulaski County has to try to get off a play very quickly, even if they want to attempt a Hail Mary.
I don't think that's going to happen. 0 shows on the clock. Annandale's headed for the locker room. They're in a hurry to get out of here because they don't want to see Pulaski County have any more plays. And as we draw to the end of the first half, very surprising as far as I'm concerned, Willie. I thought this would be a little bit more high scoring, and I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if Annandale was behind by a touchdown or so at the end of the first half, and that they would have to go to the locker room and regroup. But exactly the opposite.
You're right about that, but there are two things that are working against Pulaski County and this game to be high scoring. One is the wind and the wind chill condition. The other is the fact that one of the outstanding players for Pulaski County, Eric Webb, is not playing today. So putting those two things together, it limits what your offense can do, and an injury has limited what the opponent can do. So that in itself will cause the game to be somewhat more low scoring than we might have thought.
On a 3-yard run by Jennings and a 55-yard reception by Seeger, plus 2 extra points, the Annandale Adams have a 14-0 lead as we head to halftime. We'll take a bit of a break. You'll see the score pop up on your screen as 14-0, and when we come back, it'll be second half action from W.T. Woodson High School in Fairfax County, Virginia. Annandale's beating Pulaski County, but there's more to come on the Chip and Ham Sports Medicine Game of the Week Special Edition on HTS.
A lot of people won't buy seafood unless they see it sitting on a bed of ice. They think ice means fresher, but ice only drains the natural flavors, dries the fish, and invites bacteria. At U-Crops, we wrap our fish to keep it moist and fresh. And it stays moist and fresh because it's always chilled to just above freezing. So where does that leave seafood that isn't wrapped? Skating on thin ice.
For 25 years, people have been really happy to get their Valpak envelope. That's because for 25 years, the Valpak envelope has been filled with money-saving coupons. Coupons for products and services you really use right in your neighborhood. Things like dry cleaning, car repair, videos, and takeout food. Valpak, celebrating 25 years of savings.
Check out your Val Pack to win tickets for Sesame Street Live and dinner from Stuffy's.
What carries 30 million bits of storable information, weighs less than 3 pounds, provides hard copy, and handles both text and graphics? What allows random access, is available 24 hours a day for less than 40 cents, and is completely portable? It's not the latest piece of fancy computer hardware. It is the Richmond Times-Dispatch.
US Air, the official airline of the VHSL and the Lansing Sports Network.
And we're back for second half action at Woodson High School in Fairfax, Virginia, the site of the AAA Division 6 playoff game between Annandale and Pulaski County. 14-0 Annandale on top. Some halftime stats to look at. Jennings for Annandale's got a touchdown and 35 yards rushing. Santa Ana, 32 yards rushing on 6 carries. And that's pretty much the rushing stats for Annandale. They had 65 on the ground total. 65 yards total rushing. And Pulaski County, 69 yards rushing. It's not very much for a team that averages like 350 on a game. 69 yards in the first half for Pulaski.
You're right about that, and that's reflected itself on the scoreboard with 0 for Pulaski County, 14 for Annandale.
Well, the kick is underway. Here it comes back the other direction, taken by Pulaski County as they will take over possession at the beginning of the second half. Jamar McNair brings it back to the 17-yard line, and that's where the Cougars will get underway. I'm Dave Bird along with Hall of Famer Willie Lanier. Welcome to our special broadcast today. Now, we do these broadcasts each week during the football season in Central Virginia, around the Richmond area. And we're traveling along with the teams now all the way to the state in this special home team sports broadcast. Here come the Cougars of Pulaski County. Let's see if they've learned anything in the locker room here as they get ready for the second half. John Lilly filling in for Webb at that wing-back position. Lewis carrying as he had so much in the first half. Lewis comes into the second half with 10 carries. Adds another one here.
And Steve Dredge, defensive tackle for Annandale, again through the line of scrimmage, made a real solid stop. And the thing that we always reflect on is that at the half, the coaches have had a chance to take a look at what was available to them in the first half, see what adjustments that they make. And normally you will see that unfold on that first possession of the second half.
And indeed, if Pulaski County is going to set any kind of a tone here, now would be the time. Lewis breaks through. He's got some running room. He bounces off a couple of tackle attempts before Hurlins finally wraps him up and brings him down. And Willie, he's far too dangerous a runner to just kind of shoulder an arm tackle. You really got to lock him up.
You're right about that, and you can see on that last play, Annandale appeared to not really get a solid tackle, and Lewis almost had a chance to break for much more yardage, picked up a positive first down, and we'll just have to continue to see how this execution will continue for Pulaski County.
First down to Red. Red right up the middle for a gain of about 5 or 6 yards. That's what Pulaski County would like to see pretty much all the time if they can. Let's take another look at the run by Lewis.
What's the straight ahead? It's a handoff to Lewis coming to his right, and he picked up real good yardage, slipped a tackle, and that tackle there that was missed allowed him to pick up additional yardage, and that's the kind of thing you always have to worry about.
The sun is playing cat and mouse with the clouds. Now it's turned fairly much overcast here. Again, the wind is blowing a whole gale, and the wind chill factors are down near 0. These teams are really gutting it out today. Lewis on another carry. He may go all the way on this one. Lewis has the speed, but he's taken down from behind. Give credit to the Annandale secondary for catching up to one of the faster backs that we've seen. He broke one for a touchdown last year on a kickoff return, and nobody touched him, and he looked like he was out underway again on about a 30-yard run.
And that was a great execution that we had talked about earlier, which we have not seen Pulaski County exhibit. Lewis to his left, he cut upfield. Early in the game, he had that same kind of play set up, but he cut outside. But with him cutting upfield and a great tackle by Todd Millen for the defense of Annandale stopped him from going all the way.
Pulaski County sets up again, and they continue to run that conservative offense. Brian Red, number 7, the fullback, averaging 6 and some change yards per carry, a little bit short of his average, and we'll take a look at another great run.
Here's the replay of that play. Eves turns hands off to Lewis, and he cuts inside that block
by Red.
And at that point, he's off to the races, having a chance to look as if though he might go all the way. Great speed, but Todd Millen makes a diving tackle to keep them from scoring on that play.
Definitely credit Millen with that big tackle. Second down and 8 for Pulaski County. Once again, Carl Lewis running along the line of scrimmage, bouncing off. He's not a big punishing back by any means. Carl Lewis only 5'8" and 150, but he does seem to be tough to tackle.
He really can be, and the thing that you'll notice the difference in the first half and the second half is the execution at the point of attack for Pulaski County, the decisions that are being made by the running back, reading the offensive lineman and the kind of block that he makes, and that's something that they weren't doing in the first half.
And also something that Annandale didn't have happen in the first half. Their defense has been out there for a while now for the first 4 minutes of the second half. They really got a chance to rest a lot, so they may need it here in this half as Pulaski County is underway. Pitch to Lewis. This time he's hemmed in as he tries to make the cut, but he only needed about 1.5 yards, and he easily has the first down for the Cougars.
Two things occur at halftime for the team that's behind. One is taking a look at what you need to do to execute. The other is that you have to have the emotion coming out to do something positive if you get that ball on the opening possession, realizing that if you don't, then obviously the deficit can expand. So they're doing both of those things, executing well, and the emotion is still high. And now it's to Annandale to try to keep this thrust from allowing a touchdown for Pulaski County.
Once again, a handoff to Lewis, tripped up from behind on a great play there by the Annandale defense. Turns out to be number 85. That's David Rowell. Rather 65, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 65. That was Steve Dredge again coming through on that play. And Dredge just continued to have an outstanding day for the Annandale defense. And on a play that was again a sweep to the left by Lewis, he was able to come from his defensive tackle position and make the stop in the backfield, forcing a 2-yard loss, now setting up a 2nd and 12 from Annandale's 18-yard line.
Dredge leads the team in sacks. You can see why he gets into the backfield very quickly. Lewis again on the run, tries to run up the middle. Now with the loss on the last play and only a short gain on this play, it's going to bring up 3rd down and just about exactly 10 for Pulaski County. Here's a key time for Annandale to thwart this drive.
You're right about that. And on that last play, Donovan Yarbrough, the left end, penetrated into the backfield to disrupt, and that's the thing that has to happen for Annandale. They have to get into that backfield, disrupt the flow of the play before Lewis can get to the line of scrimmage and use his great speed to pick up additional yardage.
Lilly is the wing back. Red is the first back. Eves on the keeper. Hasn't worked up to now. They have got that play covered, Willie. Every time Eves has tried to hang on to the ball and get around the outside, the pursuit by a very quick Annandale defense has been excellent.
There's no question about that. Ernest Amonkwa, number 81, was not fooled at all on the play. The fake by Eves, thought that it was going to hold the defensive end. But not only that, but you can see the great speed by Amonkwa, where he was able to get the proper angle and made the stop for really no gain.
Maybe even a loss of a yard or so. Maybe 4th down and long for those Cougars, and they will go for it.
Yes, and the Cougars realizing that with the wind blowing at them in this position on the field, they need to try to get points, and they're going to go for it on the 4th down.
Both sides cheering their offense, their defense. Here comes Lewis, got some running room, cuts inside down to the 25-yard line, but that's only a gain of about 4, and Annandale will take over on downs, and that has energized their team. They've now got the emotion. Mo is on their side.
You're right about that, and that was number 55, Corey Peterson, the first one making the stop on that play, and that's what you want to do from a defensive standpoint. You realize that you're going to be under pressure, championship game, changes that are made at the half, but what you want to do is, quote, bend but don't break, and that's what happened for Annandale. They've been a lot. They were under a tremendous assault, but they're able to hold and give the ball back to their offense.
With a little over 6 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter, Jennings on the run after Annandale stiffens and takes over on downs at the 15-yard line. Annandale wearing their red uniforms today. That's what they wear when they're at home. The Adams come in with that 12-1 record versus 13-0 for Pulaski County, but you can basically throw those records out at this point.
You're right about that, and it was pretty interesting watching what Pulaski County did on their 4th down situation at this end of the field. The same thing that Annandale had done the first quarter, because the wind is in their face. They didn't even try to throw it. They felt they had to keep it on the ground.
This could be Annandale's quarter to throw it. Jennings stuffed at the line of scrimmage, maybe even had lost one. It was a 2nd down and 6. It'll bring up 3rd down and about 7 yards for the Adams. Jennings is their key runner coming out of the backfield. He has over 1,200 yards and 22 touchdowns. He's the Potomac District Player of the Year, and he is a star for this team.
And not only as mentioning Jennings being the Potomac Player of the Year on defense for the Adams, you also have Maurice Daniels, who's the Defensive Player of the Year up here also.
We'll be talking a little more about him when he gets out there and plays. McPhail on the keeper. Throws at the last minute. Finds Clark on the reception for the first down. McPhail very near the line of scrimmage. I thought he was going to keep it, but at the last minute, he found Brian Clark, his 6'2", 180-pound senior receiver out there open.
And that was a great throw by McPhail as he was rolling to his right. It appeared, as you said, he could have picked that up by continuing to run with that ball for a first down, but he was able to pull the trigger to Clark. Very well thrown ball, picks up a first down, and they continue to keep this drive alive.
Earlier in the game, McPhail added his 10th touchdown throw of the season when he found Seeger on a 55-yard pass play. Here comes the run. Santa Ana stuffed big time at the line of scrimmage. No fake was taken there as he was just nailed head on. Annandale, not as good a running team, but certainly an adequate one with over 200 yards per game in average. Pulaski County is an outstanding running team with almost 350 yards.
But as you said on that last play, Santa Ana was hit for no gain. I was trying to find the number on that defender because I always enjoy seeing those real solid stops, and I'll hopefully try to make sure he's acknowledged before this game is over.
They've got some good linebackers. They do miss Eric Webb, their big star, but some other players have stepped up and stiffened the line there for Pulaski County. Here comes the second down play. Flags on the play, and this one will be whistled off as McPhail was rolling left. A little less than 4 minutes to play in third quarter action. Time becomes the enemy of the team that's behind, and we know that Pulaski County would rather have the ball with the clock ticking down now. See the procedure call against the offense called by our referee today, Tony Scarcelli. Now push Annandale back. Instead of being second down and about 10, it'll be second down and 15.
That's really great. This is a shot of the fans who are out here this afternoon watching their teams attempt to win the state championship. And this is nowhere near good conditions to do anything out of doors, but they're out here trying to cheer their teams on to victory.
Of course, a special mention to the Pulaski folks who drive 4 or 5 hours to get up here. Draw play, Jennings fools no one, and a quick defensive stop by Newcomb there. He and Dunnigan really anchor that defensive line.
And you spoke about Newcomb earlier. Newcomb has had an outstanding day for the Pulaski County team. Again, stops it for no gain and forces what appears to be about a 3rd and 17 now for Annandale.
Newcomb leads his team in sacks with 14 on the year. That's a lot at a high school level. And a little bit later on, we will sort these players out. One of them will be our Bruce's Body Shop Player of the Week, to be determined later. And have a lovely jacket as a memento. McPhail comes to the line of scrimmage now with Jennings. Santa Ana beside that. Gives to Santa Ana on the crossing play, but that didn't work. It's third down and 18, and it'll be more than that for fourth down, and it'll be punting time for the Adams.
Again, that was Larry Newcomb, number 77, 6'2", 247-pound senior for Pulaski County, who not only made the stop but slammed Santa Ana's body to the ground.
That's what they. That's why they play. That's what they love. And standing beside him is Randy Dunnigan. Now, you know, Newcomb sounds big at 247, but Dunnigan weighs in at 280. That's when you say tips the scales, like right over, breaks them maybe. Arndt for the punt. Heavy pressure gets it away. It's a low driving kick. It ends up into the hands of Pulaski County's Davis. Tim Davis is going all the way, as they say, east to west. Ball's on the turf, but they're going to call him down on the 44-yard line. And Davis's run back goes for about close to 20 yards.
And Davis made a very good reception on that kick because the kick was so low that had he missed it, the ball would have been much deeper in Pulaski County's territory. So he not only gained them yardage to their own 45-yard line, but saved what would have been an outstanding kick for Annandale had that ball gotten by him.
And Annandale has enjoyed the advantage in field position almost this entire game. This third quarter is likely to be theirs in that regard too, because the wind will be at their back. It's the wing T formation. Lewis looking left, got some blockers, turns the corner, got 5 yards. It'll bring up second down for Pulaski County, which stalled on downs on their first drive.
You're right about that, and they not only stalled on downs, but they had an outstanding multi-play drive led by Lewis, which was their best of the day, but on fourth down they were not able to convert, and the time is now 1:34 left in the third quarter. Pulaski County needs to obviously start getting some points to have an opportunity in this ball game.
On this very same field last year, Pulaski County beat Robinson on their way to the state championship, so they're familiar with this turf. Can't Get back the other way. That's Lewis trying to cut back inside when he saw so many Annandale defenders on the right side of his line, but it didn't work. And the field really, I don't think he slipped because it was muddy or anything. This field has really been in good shape.
No, he didn't slip because it was muddy. He slipped because he knew he was about to take a severe blow from one of those defenders from Annandale. But it can be seen here, the offense of Pulaski County in the second half is trying to use their best back at this point, Lewis, to get them the yardage they need and trying to keep their offensive plays alive.
Here comes that inside handoff. Number 3, Ingalls takes the handoff. But if you noticed on that play, instead of taking it cleanly like Webb had for so many weeks, Ingalls had a bit of a problem, kind of banged into the other back, and that's not going to work as well.
Well, and the thing that I think cannot go without being stated is the fact that Webb not playing today has hurt Pulaski County. That's a part of football at any level. When you don't have one of your top performers playing, you have to utilize whoever the other players are to make that difference up and try to continue to go forward. So that's not a complete excuse, of course, for Pulaski County, but Webb is one of their major weapons, and he's out of this contest today.
He's a first team, we speak of Eric Webb, by the way, he's a first team offense and defensive player in the entire Northwestern region, and he led them to the state championship last year with 3 touchdowns against Thomas Dale of Richmond. They were lined up as a possibility of a rematch, which is very rare, between Thomas Dale and Pulaski County this year, but Annandale beat Thomas Dale last week in Richmond to get this far, and so far they've had the better of Pulaski County. 39 seconds left on the clock. It'll be another punt by Ingalls of Pulaski County. He'll stand on about his own 42-yard line as he puts his foot into it, pops it high in the air. This time, the Annandale players dive for cover, and instead of touching up the ball like they did previously, and they'll be able to take this ball over at about their own 30-yard line.
And that's something that I expected to see, that at halftime, of course, the coach of Annandale, Coach Adams, let them know when that ball is kicked, because the wind is going to stop it, get away from it. Don't even try to get around it. And you could see that on that last play, as some of the players dove for the sideline, trying to get away from where that ball might have landed.
Well, it's 1st down and 10 as the Adams take over. Have to be clear to enunciate. I remember when I told Willie that the team was named the Adams. He said, "Is that the Adams family?"
I thought that was a bomb or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's actually kind of what it is. They've got the Adam on their helmets there. And on the running play, Jennings following Santa Ana through the line. As the clock continues to waste down, they may well not even play another play here in the 3rd quarter, as this quarter has pretty much flown by. A lot of running. Annandale kind of mimicking Pulaski County a lot in that they're living by the run today.
Well, they've been able to be selective with their passes. Their running game has worked well for them, and with that fact of trying to keep this 14-0 lead in position, they don't want to do anything to take any chances, and it appears this will be the last play of the 3rd quarter.
And we are back with action here in the very final quarter of today's game. You just missed 8 seconds, no big deal. Santa Ana on the 1st down run gained the 3 yards necessary, and we welcome you back with 1st down and 10 for Annandale here in the game of the week.
That was a very important 1st down for Annandale. Santa Ana made it by about a half yard, and that allows them to keep this clock running, and that, of course, is what they want to do. Try to keep their drives alive, keep the chains being moved, and keep the offense of Pulaski on the sideline.
Santa Ana joins Jennings in the backfield. McPhail's the quarterback, gives it to Santa Ana. He's good for about 3 yards, brings up 2nd down for the Adams. They've done a good job of spreading the wealth in the backfield. Jennings is the guy they look at as the flashy runner, but Santa Ana has been very steady today.
You're right about that. Santa Ana picked up about 3 yards on that play, and Mike Luke made that stop from his linebacker spot for Pulaski County.
Another one of those guys filling in as Eric Webb is out. Should mention Lilly, Payne, Berkeley, some good linebackers who've played under tough conditions here today. It's cold in the press box, so we know it's even colder on the field and down in the production truck. I formation for Annandale. Jennings follows the lead block of Santa Ana, gains about 3 yards, brings up a 3rd down and 3 for the Adams. We're inside 11 minutes to play in regulation time in this football game. I'm Dave Bird with Willie Lanier, and we generally do these broadcasts in Central Virginia. Today we have a special broadcast on Home Team Sports where we're bringing you the state championship game as part of a package of several state championships that Home Team Sports is doing. So we're glad you joined us here for today's game.
And the first time we've had the opportunity to do a state championship up in this Northern Virginia area, and it's just a great opportunity to get up here to see all of the fans up here, as well as having Pulaski County's fans come all the way 4 or 5 hours to be at this game today also.
The stands are jammed at W.T. Woodson High School. almost received by number 87 for Annandale, Ryan Brooks, the tight end. His number is seldom called as McPhail drilled the ball into his hands and he just couldn't quite hang on. And we should, as you said, make a special mention. The stands are full on a very, very bad day. There's no precipitation, but the wind chill factors with 30-some degree temperatures and 30-some mile-an-hour winds are pretty brutal. I got to admire anybody that comes out on a day like today.
You're right about that, and it's continued the entire game. It's not as if though it's been intermittent in any way. It's been a steady, howling wind here all afternoon.
Arndt averaging 30 yards per punt. I don't think you'll get this one away as the snap was high. Probably a good idea to just wing it and save 10 yards. That was a nice play by Arndt to save a few yards of the loss that was impending there on the very high snap from center. Good thinking.
You're right about that. He made an outstanding play. One, to stop the ball. Two, he tried to roll to his left to see whether he had a chance to kick it in any way. Realizing he didn't, he at least kept the ball at the 45-yard line where it was. The wind, obviously, at that point was a factor and beneficiary of Pulaski County.
And head coach Dick Adams was the first to greet Arndt when he came to the sideline and tell him he made a heck of a play. You could tell he was proud of the cool-headedness to bring in that high snap and then to throw the ball away to save some yardage. But Pulaski takes over. Field position better than some they've had. 47-yard line of Annandale, and here's the first time Eves is back to pass. He's under pressure. Annandale finally corrals him at just about the line of scrimmage. Credit that to the secondary as Eves really had no one to pass to.
There's no doubt about that. That was definitely a coverage sack, and the defenders for Annandale made an outstanding play to stop Eves from no gain.
Wes Arndt made a great play here, as you said, Willie, just to get to the ball. He must be a basketball player. It's the only way he can knock it down.
And not only that, he played a tip drill very well himself. He went up, he stopped the ball, caught it himself, rolls out to his left, keeps good presence of mind, and then throws it so it's not to be tackled for more yardage for Pulaski County, but allows them only to take the ball over at the 45-yard line.
Second and long for Pulaski County. Carl Lewis tripped up at the line of scrimmage, falls forward for about a 3-yard gain. It's going to be a third down and approximately 6 yards for Pulaski County. Throwing on first down, I think they thought they would surprise Annandale, but Annandale was really on top of that play.
That defense has played outstanding all day, and as I said earlier, they appear to have watched enough films of this Pulaski County team to really take away most things that Pulaski County is attempting to do today, and it continues now with a third and about 8 for Pulaski County.
Well, coaches never really tell you the straight story when you ask them before the game what they're going to do. So I have a feeling Dick Adams really did, as you said, Willie, got inside the helmet of these players. He knew what Pulaski County was going to do, and let's not underestimate the fact that Eric Webb isn't playing today because they're not executing just quite as crisply as they would have.
You're right about that, but on that last play, Carl Lewis was able to pick up that 7 yards Pulaski County needed for a first down, so they continue to keep this drive alive, trying to take advantage of that miscue of the snap punt that was over the kicker's head.
First and 10 from the 35-yard line. Lewis gains 3 down to the 32 as Pulaski County is now battling the clock. They're down by 2 touchdowns and 8 minutes remain in the football game. Pulaski County in their gold and white uniforms, gold helmets. Annandale on the left, red uniforms, white helmets and numerals. Each the champion of their own region, and each has gone through a state semifinal game, and now it's the last game of the season. Eves, pitch, Lewis round the corner, doesn't quite get the first down. It'll bring up a third down and 2. Annandale says they've recovered a fumble. I don't think they have any agreement from the officials, and indeed Lewis was ruled down. It is third down.
Well, no doubt this is a big third down play for Pulaski County, and it really should be a third and fourth down play, because if they don't make it, they're definitely going to try to go for it on fourth down with only about 7 minutes, 20 seconds left in the game.
7 minutes and 18 seconds showing on the clock. Handoff goes inside. Looked like red on the carry. Only needed 2.5 yards, and I think he's got that. And you see they mark the ball on the far side of the 25-yard line. That means Pulaski County still in business. 4-down territory for them, especially with a little over 7 minutes left in the game. When you are a running team, there's no doubt that as you run, you take up a lot more time off the clock. Here comes Pulaski County to the ball. Their wing T formation. Handoff goes inside to number 9 for Pulaski County, C.A. Burks, who's, I believe, only carried one other time, and he was good for no gain on the first down play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 10.
And as you said on that play, it appeared that there was a host of tacklers from Annandale who made that stop. He picked up really no gain on the play, and Annandale realizes that they have this game in their control. They just have to probably hold Pulaski on this drive, and in doing that, they can probably walk home with the state championship.
Kimbrough takes it on the 2nd down carry. Starting to see some faces we haven't seen. This one's Timmy Kimbrough. He comes in with a 7.3 yard per gain average. I would have expected to see more of him, as he's probably the 3rd or 4th leading back on the team with Webb out.
But I think one of the things that happens is that Pulaski County hasn't had but one good drive all day, so only having had one good drive, it's hard to decide on who to use, and Lewis was the feature guy on that drive coming out after half.
Back to pass is Eves. Chucks it into the end zone. This one will be caught by no one, as it was over the head of both Millen and his intended receiver coming out of the backfield, or rather the tight end, Jamin Payne. Neither one could have caught that, and that's probably the safe thing to do, Willie. And maybe Eves didn't really credit that really strong wind at his back enough, because he didn't want to throw it away. He wanted to find a receiver.
You're right about that, and the hardest thing to do is to adjust your pass to the wind, because you don't quite know how much force to put behind it. And I think the thing that you need to do in this kind of weather condition is that if you're going to throw it, you throw the 8 to 9 or 10 yard pass, get it quickly to the receiver, and let him attempt to run with it. Trying to do anything else of distance 20 plus yards, the ball will probably float on you.
Lewis was out for that play. He comes back in now on a critical play. 4th down and 6. The Annandale side is just roaring. But unfortunately, it's not going to stop Pulaski County, as Lewis comes up with the key gain, and they're still alive. The clock continues to roll, however. A little more than 5.5 minutes left in this game. Can Pulaski County possibly score twice in this amount of time?
Well, I think that's very possible, because you realize that with 5:40 left, Carl Lewis' outstanding play on 4th down for 1st down, that if they're able to get the score, they still have time to be able to get another one onside kick, or even holding Annandale.
And on the run, there was a fumble. It looks like, yes, it will be a touchdown. On the carry on that play was Tim Davis, or rather Billy Ingalls. Ingalls on the carry, fumbled at about the 2-yard line, and then jumped into the end zone and recovered his own fumble. So that'll go down as a 12-yard run for Ingalls, with 5 minutes and 24 seconds left to play in the football game.
Well, this is the kind of situation for Pulaski County. Outstanding drive, great run by Ingalls for the score. Now they lined up for the extra point conversion, that they don't even have to try an onside kick at this point. They could kick off, hold Annandale, still get the ball back with enough time to try to drive for a score.
Graham, the first chance he's had to kick today as far as a scoring opportunity goes, and he does complete it. And after the run by Ingalls, let's take a look, Willie, with a special attention to the end of the play.
You're right about that. Here is the quarterback, and this is their counter play, that double handoff to Ingalls. Ingalls cuts upfield, cuts inside, and will be hit and fumbles the ball in the end zone, but then the recovery is made for the touchdown.
Millen with the hit there, Crittenden too. The ball comes free, but fortunately for Ingalls, he was the one who was best able to get back up to his feet real quick. It looks like actually at the last minute that he was joined in that fumble recovery by Tim Davis. I'm not sure which one.
Yes, it appeared to be Tim Davis that made the recovery for the touchdown for Pulaski County.
So give Ingalls the 11-yard run, give a 1-yard fumble recovery to Davis, and he scores the touchdown. That brings it to 14-7 in favor of the Adams of Annandale. And, well, I guess you could boil this one down, Willie, very simply. Annandale has to play an offense that allows them to kill 5 minutes and 24 seconds, and Pulaski County needs the ball back just as fast as they can.
You're right about that. Annandale would need to really get 3 first downs, and 3 first downs would probably run the clock out, regardless of what Pulaski County would do in terms of using timeouts. But of course, with Pulaski County last year's champion, state champion, down 14-7 with 5:24 left, they have a lot of time still left in this game.
This game has gone very close to the way the Annandale team and their coach Dick Adams would have liked it. They wanted a low-scoring game, and they wanted their defense to be out there as little as possible. And through 3 quarters, I tell you, it pretty much played exactly the way they wanted it. Here's the kickoff for Pulaski County, taken by a backpedaling number 33 for Annandale, who's off and running That's Eric Jennings, who I don't believe usually takes the kickoffs. But he was in there, and his sure-handedness and quick legs got them out to the 30-yard line. That'll be important if Annandale does have to punt. Remember, it will be into the wind, so they can use all the field position help they can get.
You're right, and that was a great opportunity for Annandale and Jennings on that play to get that ball out to that kind of field position at this very, very important point of the ball game.
The Pulaski County fans and the Annandale fans have been standing now for most of this fourth quarter. They know that this is the ball game right now. I formation, Santa Ana in front of Jennings behind McPhail, and Jennings takes the handoff, met after just a 1-yard gain. A great play by the defense, led by number 6, Jeff Berkeley.
Yeah, Jeff Berkeley was moving toward the line of scrimmage as soon as the ball was being snapped. The whole idea is to disrupt whatever the offense is trying to do, and that play was stopped for no gain.
Annandale will want to take the maximum amount of time off the clock with every play. Now 4 minutes and 30 seconds showing on the clock. Annandale with a second down and almost 10 again. A very little gain there for Jennings.
Yeah, you need first downs. You can run as much time off the clock in between plays, but you have to get the first down to keep the clock running.
Santa Ana, Jennings now split in the backfield. McPhail, Jennings, only about a 2-yard gain. And that'll bring up third down and long, and Annandale would probably like to get more like 3 or 4 yards per carry. 1 is just not doing.
You're right about that. And Jeff Berkeley, number 6, came over again from his linebacker spot to make that stop. Annandale's only picked up really 1 yard in the last 2 plays. 3:57 left in the game. Very, very important third down, probably the biggest third down of the year for the Annandale Atoms.
And they'd be in a situation where if it was 4th down and short, they might want to consider going for it, because punting is a very risky proposition today with that strong wind, but they would have to be on short yardage. McPhail, play action, rolling, hemmed in, able to get some yardage. Ball's on the turf. Could it be that Pulaski County has recovered it? The indication is that the Cougars have recovered. They've made their own destiny.
You're right about that, because for Annandale on the last 2 possessions, one, it was the punt that was over the kicker's head. They recovered, not the onside, but they were able to take over possession at their own 45, driving for the score. Nancy fumbled by McPhail, giving the Pulaski County team a chance at their 35-yard line to tie this ball game up.
Well, it couldn't get much more exciting than this. Lewis on the handoff. Great play by Prince Addy as he gets into the backfield and trips up Lewis before he gets to the line of scrimmage. Annandale's going to need a few more of those plays to stuff the Cougars.
You're right about that, and I think it's great to see the way this game has come down into a very exciting finish, because with Annandale taking a 14-0 halftime lead and continuing it into this fourth quarter, now Pulaski County getting 7, defending state champion, 3 minutes left in the game. You have a great finish to this ball game.
Engels, he's got it. He ambles. He lopes out for the first down. Plenty of running room. Great blocking by the right side of the Pulaski County offense. And Engels has that critical first down with 2 minutes, 44 seconds left.
And that was the kind of play we saw last year, an execution of that play, which is that double handoff, inside reverse, and it came to Engels going back to his left. Maurice Daniels was able to get out to that side of the field to make the stop. But this execution for Pulaski County is finally starting to work. We'll have to see whether it was soon enough.
Well, I'm starting to think that the words I want you to start thinking about now are 2-point conversion. I won't say anything more.
Oh, you're right about that, because there's no way this game is going to end in a tie. Obviously, it could go into overtime, but it will be interesting to see what the decisions will be made if Pulaski County is able to score. Steve Dredge made another outstanding defensive tackle for loss of yardage on that last play.
That brings up 2nd down and 13 for Pulaski County. This time Engels has it. Once again, the defense, great penetration by Annandale. It'll be 3rd down and long, and that's exactly what they need to do in order to win this football game. Every finger on Annandale's side of the field is crossed. Can they hang on for the victory as the fans begin to mass along the track behind the Annandale bench? They really want to go and celebrate.
And that was number 41, Dan Knoch for Annandale, who made that stop on Engels. It appeared that Engels was about to bounce outside on that play, as he had done on the previous one for the first down, but Knoch made an outstanding stop for Annandale.
I want to say his name right, because they did tell me how to say it. It's Canich.
Canich.
I'm not making fun of you, but I just know we won't have a broadcast next week. See, I usually go next week's broadcast. I always apologize for all the things we screwed up, but this being the last one of the season, we'll try to make amends here. As timeout been been called on the field, and as I mentioned, the Annandale fans are massing behind their bench. They want in the worst way to be able to rush out onto that field, but there's a minute 44 left, and there's a state champion football team with the ball. And they could definitely bring that ball into the end zone the way that they have played in the past and the way they've even played here in the last few minutes.
Well, there's no doubt about the way that this team has played all year. Pulaski County, defending state champions, back here again for the second time, obviously have the ability to win football games. And with a minute 44 to go, everything is on the line for both sides. And that's what makes the game of football, I think, so exciting for all of us.
Well, this is among the most exciting. Lewis, right up the middle. He's going nowhere. He picked up about 4, maybe 5. 4th down and 7. Annandale has its fate in its hands. Pulaski County still needs even more yardage. So Annandale, I think, would like to say, let's end it right here.
Oh, you're right about that. 4th down and 8 to go for Pulaski County. A minute 23 left in the game. Clock's running. Fans excited. And they, at this point, probably don't feel as much as this wind chill as they felt earlier. They're just anxious, the fans here, that their team can come away as state champions for 1993.
Getting closer to a minute. Line of scrimmage, 23-yard line. And Eves on the keeper. It hasn't worked all day, and it doesn't work this time, as Pulaski County's quarterback has been smoked out every single time he's hung on to the ball today. This was good for maybe a 2-yard gain. Annandale has the ball, and I would say the state championship.
And you're right about that. That stop was made by Maurice Daniels on Eves on a play, as you said, that has not worked well. I would expect him to have tossed or gotten the ball to Lewis on that play. He didn't. A minute left in the game, clock running, and all Annandale has to do is to take the snap 2 or 3 times, and all these fans can then rush onto the field to cheer their Annandale Adams as 1993 State of Virginia Group 6 AAA champions.
Well, I have a feeling that's just about exactly what's going to happen now. 42, 41 seconds left. You see the tight formation there by Annandale as McPhail takes the snap. Santa Ana protects him. And, you know, Pulaski County takes the opportunity to bust through there and try to make a tackle. I think, unfortunately, the officials may not have seen it as a right opportunity.
No, they saw the flag thrown on that play, and that's one thing about sportsmanship that needs to be maintained. At that point in the game, the quarterback's going to take the snap, drop to one knee. The defender for Pulaski County decides to hit him anyway, so therefore you have an unnecessary roughness penalty, and I think there might have been another penalty subsequently because I saw 2 flags thrown.
Let's see, there's 15 yards that have been marked off already on that flag. And we'll get the official call here in just a second from our referee, Tony Scarcelli. Unsportsmanlike conduct is the indication, just one of them. And that means Pulaski County doesn't really make any difference with less than a minute left. 30 seconds left in the football game. And it's all over, as they say, but the cry, and this will probably be the last play. Wait till you see the fans' reaction to this play. 19 seconds showing on the clock. You can see a little frustration going on the Pulaski County side, but let me just say something about Pulaski County. They won their state championship last year. They have nothing to be ashamed of, and they should be proud of the effort they made today, missing one of their key players. And I think it took a very spirited effort by Annandale. And as you can see, their fans are rushing out. They think this game is over. No time showing on the clock. Congratulations to the 1993 AAA Division VI state champions, the Annandale Adams. Their 5th state championship since the 1960s. It must make all of their alumni so happy.
Yeah, you're right about that. And as Dave said, it must make all their alumni very happy, since he himself was a 1975 graduate of Annandale and had a chance to broadcast his team's championship victory over Pulaski County here this afternoon in a game that was very spirited, especially coming into that 4th quarter, and one that I think was very indicative of what we would hope to have for a championship game, State of Virginia High School Group 6 AAA.
Oh, you're wrong again. It was 1974. But I didn't let it color the broadcast. I was, it would have been nice to see them win. Actually, we knew Pulaski County as well as anything because we had seen them last year, and they're a team that we really knew well coming into this game. I think it was a big surprise that the Pulaski County offense was not clicking on all cylinders like we had seen it. You would think by the 14th game of the season that the execution that we had seen, and the people have to understand, since we saw the state championship game last year, we saw crystal clear execution people keep opening the door. Every time the door opens to the press box, you have to freeze because the wind blows in you. It just takes your breath away. The execution was so crisp last year that this year things just didn't seem quite to click, and we don't want to harp on the same thing, but I think they missed Eric Webb today.
They no doubt missed Eric Webb, but you don't want to take away the fact of this great defense of Annandale. Annandale played outstanding defense, and with the way they were able to stop that inside running game early, you didn't really see the execution to Lewis until the second half, and I think that becomes a confidence factor. And of course you also had some turnovers early for Pulaski County. Obviously weather had something to do with that for both teams. All of those kinds of factors tend to take away some of the belief you have in the way your offense is going to run, and then that can be just enough to keep you a measure away from a score that ends up 14-7 against you in your second trip to the state finals.
Well, you're looking at some of the happiest people on the planet Earth right now. As you watch this broadcast some 5 days after it happened, I'm sure they'll be still celebrating on 4-year run in Annandale, Virginia. I always thought that was a nice name for a high school address. It's not their official address, but it's the street that runs in front of the high school. They'll be partying in Annandale, Virginia tonight. If you're not familiar where that's located, it's right along the Beltway in Fairfax County, Virginia. And, of course, is this being seen all over the state of Virginia and several states around it. This is a Washington, D.C. metropolitan team, which has played some of the tougher teams in the state. Pulaski County couldn't be more opposite. They come from the southwestern part of the state, where it's not near as populous, not near as metropolitan. These are, I won't say country folk, but they're simple, hard-working people. There's a lot of industry in southwest Virginia. You heard the train horn, which was pretty much silent in the second half. I know the Pulaski County fans would have liked to have been blowing their train horn a lot louder and a lot longer and a lot more often, but they just didn't get the opportunities. And in fact, Pulaski County was held off the scoreboard until there were 5 minutes and 24 seconds left in this game, and they provided some real excitement down toward the wire as they had a fumble recovery with 3:28 left to play, but Annandale stiffened and held on fourth down, and well, that's the way it should be, Willie. It should come down to the last series. That's exactly the way we would hope it would happen after 14 games, that it would come down to the very last minute.
You're right about that, and we've seen two very exciting games in the last 2 weeks. Thomasdale, Annandale last week, which went into overtime, and then the game today where with about a minute left, Pulaski County on fourth down still had an opportunity to try to get into the end zone to at least tie this game, or maybe able to go for the win to keep their state championship in hand for another year. So it was just an outstanding game. I think it goes without saying that the weather condition here was much more difficult than most people could imagine in having to play a football game with wind chills at about zero, a wind at about 30, 40 miles an hour, gusting constantly throughout the game. So just to have the players maintain their sense of self, I guess, because I was saying earlier that I remember playing a game against the New York Jets where my fingers got so cold I couldn't fasten my chin strap. And to maintain your presence of mind in these kind of conditions is very admirable.
Well, it should have affected Annandale more, those tough conditions. We predicted that it would, because they rely on the pass much more. But I think they had a game plan when they came in. I mean, right down to the fact they said, if the wind's in our face, we'll be more conservative. When the wind's in our back, we'll go for it a little more. I think they took into account the weather and really adapted to it well today.
There's no doubt about that from the offensive standpoint, because we saw early on when they had a few opportunities against Pulaski County on a fourth down with the wind in their face, instead of even attempting to throw it, the quarterback, McPhail, kept the ball and was stopped. But then as the wind was at their back, they were able to get the pass to Seeger, and getting that pass to Seeger was what allowed them to go in for their first touchdown of the afternoon. So they utilized everything very well, but I think also their defense appeared to have a very, very good concept of what to expect from Pulaski County, and that really showed up in the length of time they were able to keep Pulaski County off of the scoreboard.
Well, let's take a little bit of a break here while we reorganize ourselves and try to come up with some of the highlights of today's game. We'll replay them for you. We take a timeout now. You're watching the game of the week. It's the state final game, and the state final score is the Annandale Adams 14, Pulaski County Cougars 7. Annandale's the champs. We'll be back.
It seems that every day we hear the phrase, "Don't drink and drive." Is it the fashionable thing to say these days? Or is it a genuine concern? This is Lisa McKay, and I'm concerned. Nearly 500 Virginians lost their lives in alcohol-related accidents over a year. Over 15,000 others were injured, all on Virginia's highways. The next time you think about doing one for the road, please do me a favor. Think again.
All through the night, U-Crop's refrigerated trucks rush freshly prepared foods from our kitchen to our stores. It's the only way we can deliver on this promise. At U-Crops, we never add preservatives to the foods we prepare. And we sell every item in time for you to enjoy the peak of freshness at home for at least 2 to 3 days. And that's saying a mouthful.
Well, which one are you doing? I'd rather have the coach than the mic. Welcome back to the press box at WT Woodson High School. The final score again, Annandale 14 and Pulaski County 7, and that'll end a football season in the state of Virginia. For 1993, the AAA Division 6 champion has been crowned, and it's the Adams of Annandale. And in just a moment, once he's finished with his radio interview, Dick Adams, the head coach of Annandale, is going to join us here for a brief chat. And I think he's probably got some things that we got to grill this guy and find out, how did he stop Pulaski and make him look so bad?
Well, I think the thing that we really saw today was that a very well executed team's plan of what the coaches have decided they could do today, and that was both on offense and defense. That took into the fact the weather conditions that they had to face this afternoon. So seeing that kind of plan work out, you were right, it'd be a great opportunity to have Coach Adams with us to just talk about what they were able to do today to get his first state championship, and I think no doubt he's very proud of the way his players played this afternoon.
Oh, as well he should be. Now, of course, we talked about the winning tradition at Annandale High School. They won twice in the 60s. I believe it was 65 and 67, and then again in, I think, 72 or 3 and 78. And all those times they had the same coach or assistant coach. Bill Hardage was there. So this is kind of a new generation. These are the guys who served under Hardage. One of them, Dick Adams, who graduated in 1975, and he's got a coaching staff all full of Annandale High School graduates, and I think they really passed on that tradition. I mentioned earlier, I went to their team breakfast this morning, and on each table, you know, everybody's eating pancakes and everything. Each table had a different, football trophy on it to remind these kids of the heritage, and I think it really had something to do with how fired up they played today.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. When you think about the way that young men try to, quote, rise to the occasion, and you try to give them some way to show the history of those things that have happened before many many of them were born. But having a chance to come here, as you said, to see some of the history this morning, the trophies that the schools have been able to attain, and the coach, congratulations for an outstanding opportunity today to get your first state championship. I just think it's a great honor to what you were able to do with your ball club here this afternoon.
Very much. Well, tell us, Dick, we really didn't, when I spoke to you this morning, I didn't ask for the exact rundown of your game plan, but what is it that you did, and how did you get, what was your defensive scheme that really made the offensive scheme of Pulaski County ineffective, mostly in the first half especially?
Well, what we tried to do was, again, like I kind of mentioned in pregame, was that in playing this wing T, misdirection offense, you have to kind of have everybody have a responsibility. And we had certain keys for our linebackers. 55, Corey Peterson played his tail off, and then had to the strong side linebacker. Their number one thing that they do is run the off tackle buck sweep, and we were able to key it with Corey based on what the guards were doing. They'd block down, and he'd read it and scrape off the outside end, and then they came back and made an adjustment and ran what was like a power, where they kind of base blocked him, and they gave him a bad read, and they had some pretty good plays with it. And we just kind of, sucked it up, and, our strong safety squeezed it a little bit better, and we stayed at home on the weak side, quarterback draws, quick pitch, things like that, and shut the trap down inside. Again, they don't throw real well, and that helped us to focus on the run.
Well, one thing that you hoped would happen really did happen. Low-scoring game, and a low-scoring game with you in the lead. That's particularly important because without the passing game, they can't come back as well as a lot of other teams could have.
Right. I mean, my biggest fear was, again, in the fourth quarter, the wind. And I thought there was about they were driving the football, and there was about 2:34 left, and I said, what if we stop them here and we get it back, and then we can't get a first down and they call timeout, and they have anywhere from a minute, or what do we do? Should we, are we going to try to punt it, or are we going to try to just go for it, or take a safety and kick it? So, that was the big concern. I watched Robinson last year in that same situation, and they took a safety, which I thought was smart, and they kicked it, and then Pulaski made a big play and won that game.
Yeah, they won on a late field goal, I believe, to beat Robinson in this very same field last year.
Right.
Well, your team certainly rose to the occasion. The offense started to look a little bit like Pulaski County. Your ball control was excellent today. Kept your offense on the field and your defense off so they could be rested up. Talk a little bit about what you did with the offense in order to get their ball control, really fine-tuned today. Keep the Pulaski offense off.
Well, we'd really worked all week on trying to throw. We want to run a lot of short drop back, stop routes, crossing patterns, things like that, and that was very hard to do. John threw a couple of really nice balls on some play action. He got on the corner a couple times, but that was about it. And then we just up front, Daniels and Dredge and Matt Garnett, Sloan and Clark just did a nice job of really kind of knocking them off the ball a little bit to give us a couple first downs and to score when we picked up the fumble down there, and take advantage of that type of thing, if not just get field position.
I noticed that you were extremely happy when Art, your kicker, came off after that really high snap that he must just have been barely able to get with the top of his fingers, and then had a presence of mind to throw the ball away. You looked like you were pretty happy. It was a bad play, but it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, no, he did a great job because he threw the ball away, which put the ball back at the line of scrimmage, and which was about the 45-yard line. And Dan, we might even have a punt of the ball that far if we'd gotten it off. So it was just really heads up.
And, of course, if it had gone over his head, then you'd been in really deep shape. Tell me what you thought at the end of the game when Pulaski got it back for that one more try on the turnover. You must have been pretty, your fingers were already crossed. They must have been double-crossed by then.
Well, we just, we talked at halftime that I knew that team over there had tremendous pride and tradition. No way were they going to lay down and let somebody, whip them. And they came back. They had their chance. Defensively, we stood up as a team and shut them down, and that's just exactly what you got to do. I mean, that's the way a championship game should be played. We were fortunate. We won the game. Our kids played well, but it was exciting, and both teams, I thought, played their hearts out.
Hey, look on as we do here. We'll show you a replay of some of the plays that we saw in today's game. I'm not sure which one's coming up first. This is probably the long pass play. This is McPhail and his long pass to Seeger. What do you call that route?
This is a belly pass, and the flanker's running what we call a flag, or like a post corner route. And it's just a great ball by John and a great catch by Chris. Just beautiful. We had just gotten the wind, but even the wind was a crosswind. That's a lot harder to do than it looks. Get it there, number one, catch it and stay in bounds, and that's a first-year player, Chris Seeger.
That's amazing. Not only is he your kicker, but he's a great wide receiver. And he made an excellent play there to get under that ball, and do not underestimate how much effect the wind had on this game. And I don't mean you, I mean the people watching at home, because that was extremely difficult. That was the first time you'd been able to turn around and get the wind at his back, and even then it's really tough to judge that wind. Even if it's in your favor, that doesn't mean you can still complete every pass.
Right. Well, it was really strong coming across the field, and for John to get it like he did there was phenomenal.
Well, of course, that long 55-yard pass play from McPhail to Seeger set the tone. That was the first 7 points scored in this football game, and they held up for a while. And then you had another long drive where it was wrapped up by Jennings. You're up 14-0. Things looking pretty good for you. But as you mentioned at halftime, you must have given them a real dose of reality about Pulaski County.
Well, we did, and I mean, we had a lot of young kids that were very excited. And Pulaski County didn't win 22 games in a row, a Virginia State championship, and have the tradition they do by sitting around and letting people, whip them. And their fans were here. You saw 3,000 or 4,000 people here by noon. And they have a tremendous following, and they take it very serious. We knew they'd come out very hard and work the play until the game was over.
We got another replay lined up. We'll take a look at the monitor here. I know it was a fumble recovery. Oh, this is the one where I thought that there could be some interference called there because Millen was bumped into the ball.
Well, what happened was, and I don't know if it actually hit him, but Derek Crittenden, 17, thought it did. I was upset because I thought Crittenden was just coming up trying to field it, and we wanted to get away from it. But Derek thought that it hit Todd, and so that's why he went for it. And that's if that's what he thought, that's what he should have done. It was a big play. We came right in after that series and stopped him. And just played some great defense.
Well, that could have been a critical play, and I agreed with you, and that's what Willie and I guessed when we watched it originally, is that Crittenden was covering. He thought Millen had touched it, and he did the best he could. And it was interesting that we talked about at halftime that you probably told everybody on the punts into the wind, just get the heck away from him. And in the next punt in the third quarter, it looked like a bomb went off. All your players were diving for the sidelines and getting away for the ball. Obviously, you told them that those punts are going to be an adventure all day.
Right. We just said that, we just want our people just to hold folks up on the line of scrimmage and get away from it. And our deep people, unless it came right to you, just get away, and let it hit and roll, because with the wind, I mean, they will only get 10, 15 yards a punt, if that.
Now, Jennings wrapped up the scoring for your team in the first half with a 3-yard run into the end zone, and I believe we have that one on tape for you to look at. What do you call the play that he scored on?
Well, I tell you, this is what we call we just call 33 base. It's just an off-tackle base play. We base block up front with the fullback kicking out, and did a great job inside. And Eric sees a little seam, shoulders are down, gets it across the goal line. Beautiful job up front on the offensive line against an excellent defense.
I think Santa Ana was probably one of the keys to your offense. Now, we watched a game last week where you played Thomas Dale and Richmond. They were never able to get their second back, Brian Brooks, into the game. You shut him down. I think that had an effect on them. But today, your team got some real good work out of Santa Ana, both blocking and running the ball. Makes it easier for Jennings.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, Giovanni Santa Ana and Jasmine Glenn, our other fullback, tailback, have come in all year and done a great job and both been threats. And again, we've been able to rest Eric or, just get the ball to somebody else. And the three of them have been a great backfield.
I'm not sure if we have any more replays lined up for you to look at. I guess not, Coach. We're going to turn you loose now as we take another timeout. We'll come back and wrap everything up from Woodson High School. Couldn't congratulate you more for taking my Annandale Adams to the state championship and putting another trophy in the case. And we hope maybe we'll see you again down the road.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Coach Dick Adams of the Annandale Adams, not spelled the same way. Sounds a lot like, at least the way I say it. When we come back, Willie Lanier and I will be here in the press box to wrap things up from Woodson High School in Fairfax, Virginia. The final score, Annandale 14, Pulaski County 7. That means the Adams of Annandale are the AAA Division VI state champions for 1993. Come back right after this.
Sports, exhilarating, rewarding, fun, and injuries. About half of the people who participate in sports activities suffer some kind of injury. At Chippenham Sports Medicine Center, we're doing something about that. Seminars on injury prevention, coaches' workshops, and football clinics are just some of the programs geared to help prevent accidents and injuries from occurring. Sports nutrition will help you understand how eating habits affect performance and potential. When a sports injury does occur, you'll find confidence in Richmond's only sports medicine physician who's on call 24 hours a day. Our full-time staff also includes certified athletic trainers, physicians, therapists, and a nutritionist. In most cases, physical therapy and rehabilitation programs can have you back in the peak of your game quickly. Feel better, train better, and compete better. Call us today. Chippenham Sports Medicine Center, 320-7272.
When you need professional body work to restore your car good as new, Bruce's Body Shop is the only one for you. 'Cause you can count on service at Bruce's and the best in quality too. We're Bruce's Body Shop and we really care for you. It just makes sense to call Bruce's. Bruce's Body Shop.
And we're back to the press box at W.T. Woodson High School. As we mentioned at the top of the program, this serves as the regional headquarters for games here. It was where the regional final was played when Annandale beat West Springfield, and then today they moved the state finals here because, well, they have the capacity. It's over 10,000 here, and with the visitors from Pulaski County, which we must credit again for covering such a long distance, that's a real important consideration.
You're right, it always is, and that's something that the Virginia State High School League looks at in terms of the site for their ball games, because they want to have, especially for the visiting team, the opportunity for fans to have facilities and obviously enough seating to support them. So here at Woodson today we had that also, and the fans had a chance to see the great number of fans from Pulaski County who follow their team around the state, who have that air horn that for them this year didn't quite work to get them to win, but that gives them a lot of cheer to use that air horn to really spur their team on. So it's always great to just see the kind of community spirit and involvement that revolves around high school sports.
Well, it was interesting enough that they even repeated as a state championship game contender, remembering, of course, that Pulaski County was the defending Division 6 AAA Virginia State champion. So even getting back here was an accomplishment in and of itself. And I don't want to hammer this point too hard, but Eric Webb was a big missing element of both their offense and defense. I know when they watch this broadcast, they're going to say, oh, I wish we'd have just had a chance to find out what it would have been like with him, but they didn't.
Well, you're right about that, and as we had spoken about Eric Webb, who we saw last year and really championed the kind of skills that he happens to have. But today, the way the game was played in this kind of weather condition, defense really stood out, and defense on both sides of the ball, which kept the score at 14-7. And the weather condition, even though Coach Adams said this was the way it was last year here, this has probably been one of the most awesome weather conditions I've seen for any high school game. And as I said, that the door to the press box just flew open, and now we have about 0-degree wind chill as we continue to speak about that, which the players had to deal with all day.
Well, we're living proof, to be sure, that the weather here has been difficult to handle today. Wind chill factor's got to be down near 0, and any player who played well in today's game should be lauded, but some maybe more than others, and it's probably time to award our Bruce's Player of the Week. Gets himself a nice jacket and the accolades that go with it.
You're right about that, and I think for this game, defense, something I'm very familiar with, number 65 for Annandale, and that's Dredge. And the first name, I believe, is Steve Dredge, who played an outstanding day. I called his name much more from a tackle stat standpoint than any other player on the team, and he was continually in the backfield doing those kinds of things that you want a defensive player to do: disrupt, make tackles, cause the offense not to do and execute the way it wants to. And for that, Bruce's Player of the Week is Steve Dredge in the state championship game for his ball club, the Annandale Adams.
Well, Steve is a 6-foot, 200-pound senior, and he came into today's game number 3 on the team in tackles and number 1 in sacks, and he's a second-team all-regional player. And I have a feeling that this would be a great way for him to end up his senior season, not only being part of a state championship team and not only being Bruce's Player of the Week, but just playing a great game like he did.
You're right about that, and I think one thing that goes without saying, all year we talk about the fact of the jacket that the players get for being the Bruce's Player of the Week, and the jacket really will come in handy for Steve. We might have to ask Bruce to put a little bit more into it, because the game was played in this kind of weather condition, but Steve played an outstanding game today and is to be complimented for the way he helped his team to the state championship.
We should mention that Bruce's Body Shop is a Richmond, Virginia area body shop, and they have been a very strong supporter of Central Virginia's high school football broadcast. We should tell you that Willie and I are commentators in Central Virginia on a weekly basis for the high school football there. We rotate around from team to team, try to cover as many as we can, and we take all those teams through the playoff. And since Annandale beat the Central Virginia representative, which was Thomas Dale High School, in last week's game, we made the commitment to follow them along to the state championship. And of course, we had intimate knowledge of Pulaski County, having been in Richmond last year, taking the state championship from that same team, Thomas Dale. So it just kind of all wrapped up perfectly for us. Some teams we had seen, and that's always good. So we invite you, if you're in the Central Virginia area, to always keep a lookout for the broadcast in Central Virginia. It's on cable and over-the-air broadcast there. This is our first foray into home team sports. If we were good boys and girls, perhaps they'll invite us back next year to do it for you again. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, you can get yourself a taped copy of this game. And if you stand by for just 1 second, we'll throw up the address on the screen so that if you'd like to have yourself a copy of this fine football game, whether you're an Annandale or Pulaski County fan or just a fan of good football in general, you can request that. And we also want to mention our good friends at the Lansing Sports Network, who do produce this game, Pete Lansing, and our good friends at Chippenham Medical Center, a Richmond area hospital whose sports medicine program has underwritten our broadcasts in Central Virginia these 4 years, and last 3 of which I've been with. Willie's been with the broadcast since its inception. They've been very strong promoters of this high school broadcast on television.
They really have been. I think it's been great to have the opportunity for me to get back into broadcasting football and seeing the enthusiasm at that high school level, and to see the development of players in the central region and then even to the state championship game, and the great enthusiasm of the fans all around the state as they support on those Friday nights, really all across America, this aspect of football. So it's something that I think it's great to see the kind of participation of the sponsors that we've had. It's great to see home team sports carrying this state championship as well as they carried Maryland State Championship, and I think it's just a constant continuing growth of that high school sports calendar that really continues to add to what the fan enjoys from an athletic standpoint.
Well, we don't know how it is where you are, but where we come is from in Central Virginia and in Southwest Virginia, where Pulaski County is from, and even here in Northern Virginia, high school football is big. We mentioned that tape. If you'd like to get a copy of today's broadcast professionally duplicated for you on VHS cassette, simply send your $15 check with a note